So hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at a gaming computer company called Ace Computers. These guys are another budget brand. But before we get into that, please make sure that if you guys end up watching the video all the way through and enjoy what you guys watch, please leave a like. It really helps me out as a content creator. As well, if you guys want to see more stuff that's going to be going on with the channel, just projects that I'm working on, some pretty cool stuff's going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. So hitting that subscribe button really helps me out to be able to reach you guys. So I want to preface a couple things before I get into this stuff. I don't really know these guys personally. I had someone on my Discord sit down and recommend these guys to me. So I did take a look at them. I looked at their website, looked at some of their YouTube videos. Yes, they do have a YouTube channel page. Not very big. They're not a very big company, and I kind of want to talk about that a little bit just in terms of company structure. I asked them a couple questions, and so I'll like to read those out to you guys right now. So in terms of just staff, they've got 3 people working. One of them, I think, is full-time. The 2 other guys just kind of help him out when he needs it. They all have 7 years of experience, and this is mostly from just building local computers. From what I assume, they're probably working on like Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp and stuff like that locally and building computers for people. And then they said that they decided to sit down and actually make a actual company to be able to sell PCs to a much larger market. And so I did ask them a couple questions. The first one was about their parts, seeing if that all of them are bought new, because I think that, most people would rather have their stuff bought new than bought used. So this is what he said. He said parts are all bought brand new except for the ones on the older generation systems, or basically systems that use DDR3 due to parts not being made for them anymore, like the Core i5 processors. So we get them ripped from systems or older PCs. And my other question was, because I know it's a huge thing right now, in just terms of shipping and shipping times, I guess, it's a really big concern, because I know that some of the companies that I've been talking about, I've been getting complaints just because of how long it's taking these guys to ship their computers. And this guy said if we had to estimate how long it would take for someone to get their PC, realistically we'd say a week and a half, but usually within 3 to 5 business days. Or just a regular day. He said the whole process would be we get the order, then build the computer the same day, stress test it the next day by running benchmarks such as Cinebench, 3D Mark, superposition, etc. And then once those are all done, we ship the computer with our standard shipping, which is free to their customers. And depending on the location, it takes 3 to 5 business days for it to get to their doorstep. So those are really all the questions that I had. I just want to ask those for all the people who are going to be watching this video. Now, I am going to say, on the chance that people watch this video, or a good number of people sit down and watch this video, and decide to go out and buy one of these guys' machines, the time it is going to take in order for these guys to ship these machines is going to be a lot longer. And the reason why I say that is because really these guys only have 3 people working with them, so the more and more orders they get, the slower and slower the process is going to be. And so that's basically just going to make it so the more people who order machines, the longer and longer this wait time is going to be. That's just kind of how it works with these smaller companies. They don't have the infrastructure in order to be able to keep on making computers rapidly if they get a whole bunch of orders at once. But if you guys are cool with that, I would definitely consider checking them out. We're going to be talking about their PCs here right now. So these guys offer 12 PCs from the $400 price point all the way up to $1,000. By tradition, we're going to be starting with the lowest end machine, and with this video, we are actually just going to be comparing it against other companies that are offering PCs in a similar price range. So the first PC we're going to be taking a look at is the Ace Dawn. We've got an i5 2400 with a GTX 1050 2GB card. It's the standard 1050. And then we got 8 gigs of DDR3, 120 gigabyte SSD, and a 500 gigabyte hard drive. Now again, like I said, these are probably used parts. This i5 2400 is definitely used, this RAM is definitely used, and the motherboard is probably used. Now this really shouldn't be a huge concern, mostly because CPUs really don't age badly. GPUs, on the other hand, do age very badly. There's such things, just the memory going around the core goes wrong. Just artifacting is something that happens to GPUs over time. Really sucks, but really CPUs can last as long as you just keep them in check, and I'm pretty sure that these systems are going to work fine. And this is actually a really, really good price point. For $400, you're actually getting a pretty capable gaming machine. I probably wouldn't say you're going to be able to run all of the latest titles, probably not Warzone. But you're going to be able to play all of those esports games. So if you want to play games like CSGO, League of Legends, Fortnite, or other just like really well optimized games like Destiny 2 kind of comes to mind. It can pretty much run on any system. All of those games are going to be able to run on this, probably on 1080p low settings. And another great thing with the system is that you have a 120 gigabyte SSD for that boot drive. Now you're probably not going to be able to store very many games on this for that really fast load time. You're probably going to have to relegate those games to your 500 gigabyte hard drive. But that 120 gigabyte SSD is just going to make the system a lot more responsive and snappy. Now, what we can compare this to is the Lighttech Crown. This is the Crown 7, if I can read Roman numerals right. And then you've got a Ryzen 3 3200G with the integrated graphics, which kind of is bad compared to what they used to have before. I can't remember the exact specs, but I know it was a good bit better than what was on here. Then you got 8 gigs of DDR4, 500 gigabyte hard drive, and then, you know, the motherboard. Now, just in terms of just value, this is not even close to compared to this. The case looks garbage. I'm not a huge fan of Zalman. The CPU, I guess, is okay. The CPU is actually going to perform better than what you have on here, but the integrated GPU is not going to perform at the same level as what a 1052 gig is going to perform at. As well, you only have a 500 gigabyte hard drive, whereas this has a 500 gigabyte hard drive with a 120 gigabyte SSD. And then, you know, you got the lights, you actually got a okay looking case, not the best case. These Deepcool cases are fairly cheap, but they are going to be pretty decent for most people who are looking to buy a gaming PC at $400. So the next section we're taking a look at is their $500 to $600 gaming PCs. This is probably going to be the largest market that they have. I think this is probably the market that most people look at when they're going to be going to buy a gaming PC. So their first one is actually a really good value offer. It's got an i3 9100F, basically just a better version of what's on here. It's got the same amount of cores, same amount of threads, except it's just a newer generation and higher clock speeds. As well, we've got a GTX 1650, a good bit better than what we have on this system. Same storage configuration, around the same memory configuration, except this is a newer version of memory. It's DDR4 instead of DDR3. Again, all of these should be brand new parts. And then the case actually looks pretty decent. I'm not 100% sure on the brand, but it doesn't look like you're getting any lighting with it. So if you're not really worried about RGB stuff, this is probably a pretty decent buy for you. Now, their Frost PC, roughly the same thing. You've got a Ryzen 3 3200G, pretty good processor. It's going to have around the same performance as this one. As well, you've got the same GPU, so it's going to have around the same performance as this one. So the $100 is actually just going to be going into upgrading the memory capacity, having a better case, and having those RGB fans. Really, everything else is going to be the same in terms of performance. Now, this one's actually a really cool system. It's the Ace Snow. You've got an i5 9400F with a GTX 1063 gig card, 8 gigs of DDR4, and then the same memory configuration that we've been seeing with the past ones. And then it looks like you do get the RGB. I'm not a huge fan of the gold, but I think it should be in white. From what I saw in the videos, it was white. Hopefully it's white. I'm not a huge fan of the gold because it just stands out. Doesn't look too great, but they don't really have an option to change the color, which I would like, because I know this case does come in a bunch of different colors. So yeah. Now, what this one can actually be compared to is going to be the VRLA Tech Rogue. Now, just in terms of specs, the CPU on this one's going to pretty much beat both of the CPUs that you can choose on these ones. So you can either choose the Core i3 9100F or the Ryzen 3 3200G. This CPU is just going to beat it in terms of multi-core and single core performance. Now, you do have less memory. This only has 8 gigs compared to this one. As well, the GPU can be considered worse, though it's marginal at best. The really only difference is the RX 570 has a little bit of a worse processor, but does have more VRAM. So basically, it just depends on what games you're playing. If you're playing esports games, this one's probably going to perform better. If you're playing like higher fidelity games, this one is going to perform better. Now, just in terms of storage, where this one does actually win out is you're getting that 120 gigabyte SSD compared to the just 1 terabyte hard drive that you get with this one, and they are at the same exact price point. So this one's going to be our last and final PC we're taking a look at, because this video is already starting to get fairly long. So this is the Ace Prodigy PC. You got a Ryzen 5 3600 with a GTX 1066 gig card, 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, 480 gigabyte SSD with a 1 terabyte hard drive. Now, the comparative PC on the VRLA Tech website is going to be the Legacy. It's the same exact price point, $800. And we've got a Ryzen 5 2600. This machine's processor is going to be a good bit better than what this one is. It's a whole generation bump, and the generation from the 2000 series to the 3000 series was a very, very good increase in terms of single core and multi-core performance. So this processor is going to function extremely well. As well, the GPU on this one is going to perform, I guess, around the same as the RX 5500 XT. This one does have 4 gigs of VRAM, while this one does have 6. I currently use this card and I love it. I probably am going to be upgrading here in a little bit. But in terms of just like games and which ones are going to perform better, it's probably going to trade blows. I think this one's probably going to perform better in most games compared to this one. But this one is definitely going to have some underneath its belt, just depending on what API the game is using, and then just what kind of system optimizations there are. And in terms of storage, you really only get a 120 gigabyte SSD with a 1 terabyte hard drive, whereas with this one you do get the 1 terabyte hard drive, but you do get 480 gigabytes of solid state storage. And just in terms of look, I think the system looks great. I don't think it's water cooled. I don't think it has that GPU in it, but I do think in terms of case fans and stuff like that, it should represent that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's me, the last system we're gonna be taking a look at. We'll just be kind of wrapping this up with the conclusion. So those of you who are somewhat interested in this, I would still scrutinize every single PC that you're going to be taking a look at, just kind of weigh your benefits and your cons, mostly just because companies like this aren't going to be having a amazing support system, even though, you know, most PC companies don't have good support systems. This one's not going to be amazing just because it's a smaller company. It's not really going to be easy for them to support machines that have been broken in shipping and stuff like that. It probably is going to be a lengthy process, but again, I don't know what their shipping conditions are. Maybe they're not going to have any of them that are going to break down in shipping. Not 100% sure. But that brings me to my next point, guys. If you end up buying one of their machines or have already bought one of their PCs, either locally or just online, please go down in the description and talk about your experience. And if you do end up buying one online and you know you receive it and get everything done, please come back to this video and write a comment and just talk about your experience, so we can just talk to other buyers and kind of explain what that process is going to be like and what kind of reliability you can experience with this company. So that's gonna be the end of the video, guys. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the video if you guys ended up enjoying it and finding it helpful. If you guys want to watch more content, I've got some pretty cool stuff coming up. The next video should be about PS5 versus the Xbox Series X in terms of value. So if you guys are at all interested in a video kind of like that, please leave a subscribe and turn the bell notifications button. Should be launched either mid next week or the early of next weekend. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.